Hey, Linda. Welcome to the underwater tour Zoom in all the way from Christmas Island, it seems. Hope you're well.
Hi, Tim. Hi, Juliet.
So we hope that you're going to have some new stories for us from Christmas Island. And we're really keen to share this with all of the underwater tour visitors and friends.
Yep,
Absolutely.
I haven't been to Christmas Island, Linda, but I believe, Tim, you have?
Yeah, I had to go there a few times for work.
You did, I remember. We had some fun times.
Indeed, indeed.
Well, I've got a bit of an extra surprise for you today, because it's not just Christmas Island I was going to take you to. I was also going to take you on a bit of a tour of the Cocos Keeling Islands, because we're in the region. We're in the Australia's Indian Ocean Islands. So I thought I'd show you both while we were here.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Okay, well, let's go on a little bit of a tour. I'm just going to share my screen with you, and hopefully you can see Christmas Island and Cocos Keeling Islands there. Fantastic. Yep. Okay, so the two destinations, Christmas Island, most famous for its red crabs, and the Cocos Keeling Islands, which is seriously paradise to find. So think of that as the Maldives without the crowds. Firstly, Christmas Island, I'm just going to take you on a bit of a visual journey.
Take you there. Another world is within reach. Visit Christmas Island, a natural wonder.
So, and then the Cocos Keeling Islands. So again, just a little bit of a visual tour.
Oh yeah, beautiful.
And I want to take you there. Another world is within reach. Visit the Cocos Keeling Islands.
So hopefully I've just whetted the appetite there, and now I can tell you a little bit more about the two destinations. First of all, where we're located, you can see that we're way out in the Indian Ocean. Christmas Island is just south of Indonesia, about 360 k's from the border of Java. And then the Cocos Keeling Islands are about just under 1,000 kilometres to our southwest, and about an hour and a half flying time. So how do you actually get there? Well, very easily. Virgin Australia flies twice a week out of Perth, and it does a triangle service. So on a Tuesday, it flies Perth, Christmas, Cocos, back to Perth, and then on a Friday, it flies Perth, Cocos, Christmas, Perth. So you can get between the islands without actually having to come back from Perth. Why that's fabulous is that you can do both islands on a single airfare. So that's why I'm showing you about them both today. If you're going to go all that distance, why not do them both? So first of all, Christmas Island, most famous for its red crabs, and the best way to describe it is actually to show you how beautiful it is. This is our famous rock in Flying Fish Cove. I think it's as famous as the Wanaka tree, but perhaps we're not quite there yet. But it just shows you that not only is it beautiful underwater, but it's also beautiful topside and absolutely amazing for photographers. The other thing about Christmas Island is its culture. It's really quite unique in that it's Chinese Malay culture on the island. What you may not know is that Christmas Island used to belong to Singapore up until 1958, and it only became an Australian territory after that date. So a lot of the residents of the island have a Chinese Malay descent, which means we have some pretty amazing cultural experiences on the island. Yeah, it's quite... And great food, exactly. Yeah, so you can still get your roti, and you can still get some amazing Chinese food, as well as your Aussie, hamburgers at the pub. So it's a nice cultural experience.
Yeah, I wasn't aware of the history, so thanks for filling us in.
Oh, no worries. There's only there's less than 2,000 people on the island. There's estimates between about 1,500 and 2,000 people. And 2/3 of the island is national park. So what you can see here, this area here is what's known as basically the settlement area. So settlement, Poon San and Jump Site. That's the only part of the island that is actually inhabited. Up there you can see the airport runway. Over here, you can see the golf course, and basically way off into the distance, all the way out to Northwest Point, is National Park. So 2/3 of the island is National Park, which makes it quite a unique destination in that you know, you're pretty much everywhere you go, and everywhere where the national park touches the water is marine park. So quite spectacular in that way. It's also known as the Galapagos of the Indian Ocean because there are so many endemic species on the island. So not just underwater, but also topside. And you can see that the frigate birds, famous for their Galapagos experience, you can also see that on Christmas Island. So to give you an idea of numbers, we keep calling it a natural wonder. I said, you know, less than 2,000 people, around about 60 million red crabs and around about 80,000 seabirds. So when you land on Christmas Island, you really are completely immersed in nature when you get there. And when you land, you saw where the runway was in the top of the island. It's a bit like landing at Jurassic Park. So you're flying over the ocean for a couple of hours, and then all of a sudden this green island just appears out of nowhere, and you've got masses of frigate birds and bosuns and boobies flying everywhere. And then you get off the plane and you're pretty much surrounded by red crabs for the rest of the time you're on the island. And that's before you even get in the water. So it's in a pretty amazing place. And of course, part of the reason that we're all here is because of the water. This is a shot of Dolly Beach, one of our beautiful beaches on the island. Christmas Island doesn't have a lot of beaches. That's why you go to Cocos. But just to give you a little bit of an idea of the water, visibility averages 30 to 40 metres all year round. Water temperature, 27 to 30 degrees all year round. Because it's an offshore island, no stingers, no crocodiles. Yeah, so it's pretty attractive in that way. And because it is an island, even, you know, there is always one side of the island that's in the lee. So if you get there and the winds are blowing from the north, you dive the south side of the island, and vice versa.
But you've got some big sharks, don't you?
We've got some big sharks with spots, and we've, you know, so it's quite
okay.
quite well named for the whale sharks. No, they've got stripes.
Oh, that's true.
So we've got spotty and stripy sharks.
It's a jungle out there.
Literally. The whale sharks visit between November and around about March, April. They tend to arrive on the island around about the same time as the red crab migration. It is a tropical environment, so yes, we do have tiger sharks as well. And because we're literally an oceanic island with nothing around us except incredibly deep waters, we've also get hammerheads, we get silky sharks, white chip reef sharks.
Yeah.
So
and the hammerheads, sorry to interrupt, but the hammerheads, are they the solitary, the big solitary ones, or are they the, I was going to say flocks?
Schooling.
You know what I mean? The schooling hammerheads.
Yeah. Most of the ones we see are just the solitary ones, and there's a couple of points on the island where you see them, and I say points because it's Northwest Point and Coconut Point. It's generally on the points of the island where the currents are that we see them. But I dived on Christmas Island for over 10 years, having lived there, and I did once see schooling hammerheads, and that's the only time they've ever been seen is on the southern side of the island, which most of the time we don't get to dive because most of the time southeasterly trades. But yeah, so it just depends. But I've only once in 10 years did I see schooling hammerheads, but several times did we see the solitary hammerheads.
Oh, they're magnificent. Yeah, they're huge and magnificent. Yeah,
absolutely. You can see how clear and amazing the water is. This is one dive site where there's a resident school of GTs and also silky sharks. We've also got magnificent gorgonians. This is one of my favourite dive sites, perpendicular wall, and beautiful gorgonians. Yeah, just incredibly clear water, and that's also one of the points where you quite often see hammerheads. The other thing about Christmas Island is the cave systems. It's a volcanic island, an ancient volcano, and there's quite a few. Well, obviously the island, there's lots of caves systems, and most of them you can actually get into. I say caves, but they're actually caverns because you can always surface. And this one here is Thundercliff Cave. Absolutely amazing.
That looks like Linny.
It is Linny. Yes, Linny is still a dive master with Wet and Dry Adventures. Been diving on the island for over 20 years now. If there's anything she doesn't know about diving, it's not worth knowing. But yes, so Linny's one of our amazing dive masters. But yeah, Thundercliff Cave is one of those dives that you can actually, you go down, you surface inside the cave. Depending on what the conditions are like, you can actually take your gear off and walk under Christmas Island. It's a pretty amazing experience. And as I said, we do have some spotty visitors as well. So we do get the whale sharks between around about November through to April visit the island. It's no guarantee, and there's no spotter planes like Ningaloo, but all your experiences are National Geographic experiences because there's only 2 dive boats on the island. you're in the water with very, very few people, and yeah, generally the whale sharks will approach you.
It's like exclusive diving, isn't it? If you've only got 2 dive operators, you know, each with boats that don't hold hundreds of people, you know, you literally are having a private diving experience.
Absolutely. It's probably one of the most bespoke diving experiences that you'll get, where you'll still get these absolutely amazing experiences. Yeah, so one of our dive operators, maximum 6 divers, the other dive operator, maximum 18 divers. So they can cater for groups of all sizes. If you want to dive with all your buddies and you've got a group, you go with one. If it's, you know, if you're just a solo or a couple and you want to dive with smaller groups, you go with the other. So we kind of cover off all bases. And of course, they talk to each other, so they never go to the same site. So there's never more than one boat in the water at any one time. And then there's the Topside. So this is our beautiful waterfall out at Hughesdale. The reason I show you the Topside is when you dive on Christmas Island, you generally do 2 dives in the morning, and then you've got the afternoon available to do whatever you like. So there's lots of places on the island that you can explore, and this is one of them. Remember I said that 2/3 of the island is national park? So yeah, beautiful waterfall that you can go out under. I did talk about the critters on Christmas Island and the 60 million red crabs. Well, we've also got about 1 million robber crabs, or coconut crabs as they're known elsewhere in the world. The largest population anywhere left on the planet, because they're fully protected. So before anyone asks, no, you can't eat them. And that's why they're endangered everywhere else.
You're not allowed to eat them.
Fully protected on Christmas Island. Absolutely, you shouldn't. No. Getting around Christmas Island, there's quite a few ways that you can do it. You can hire your own vehicle. So we do have little 4-wheel drives for hire, or you can do one of the amazing tours that we have available on the island. You can see just how incredible the waters are, but you can also see how rugged the island is. So as I say, there's not a lot of beaches as such on the island. There are a couple, but it's mainly known for for wall diving, cliff diving, etc. This is one of our fantastic properties, Swell Lodge, built right on the edge of the national park, advanced ecotourism certified. You can just picture yourself there, can't you? So talk about keeping 1.5 metre distance from everybody. Wow, it doesn't get much better than that. And in a post-COVID world, I think this is going to become quite an impressive, quite a sought-after destination.
Oh, yes, indeed. Yeah.
We do have lots of other accommodation on the island. This is another one, for obvious reasons, called the Sunset, just to show you that, yeah, we do have quite a nice variety of accommodation on the island. And as Tim mentioned before, the food, because of the culture on Christmas Island, you've got Chinese, Western and Malay cuisine that you can enjoy. Most of the places have beautiful ocean views sitting on the cliff edge. Yeah, so it's you're not going to go hungry. This is the Rumatingi.
Is that Rumatingi?
Yeah, that's the Rumatingi. Yep. You want me to remember that well, Tim?
Well, you know, that's where the cocktails are and the palm trees along the side, and you just have sunsets. It's magnificent.
Absolutely. And don't forget that the alcohol on Christmas Island is duty-free, because we're a territory, we're not a state.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, so don't buy your alcohol in Perth before you leave. Wait till you get to Christmas Island. Much, much cheaper.
But do bring your Cocoa Pops.
Yeah. Yeah, some of the other items might be a little bit more expensive. We do pay about 20 to 30% more than the Australian mainland for most things, but it does balance itself out. You certainly don't pay for things like parking or anything like that. And we don't pay marine park fees either. That's all included in your holiday. And then we've got the Cocos Keeling Islands. And so, as I said, this is an hour and a half flying time from Christmas Island. So it's really great to combine the 2 destinations, because we do call it the Rock and Reef. So Christmas Island, as you can see, is that rugged rock, lots of soft adventure, fantastic diving. And then you go across to the Cocos Islands, which, as I say, it's that Tahitian, Maldivian geography. There's 26 islands in the southern atoll of the Cocos Keeling Islands. Only 2 of them are inhabited. So if you want to go somewhere where you've literally got the tropical island to yourself for the day, there you go, Cocos Keeling Islands. So you can see there's quite shallow waters in the lagoon, which is fantastic for snorkeling and stand-up paddleboarding, canoe safaris, etc. You can also dive in the lagoon, but you've also got the outer edges of the islands as well. So you can dive wall diving. And you talk about sharks, this is probably the sharkiest place on the planet.
Oh, great.
Yeah, lots and lots of sharks on Cocos. Inside the lagoon, there's estimated around about 30,000 sea turtles live inside the lagoon. So that does bring the tiger sharks into the lagoon. And of course, you've got lots and lots of black tip reef sharks, the most I've ever seen anywhere. Yeah, pretty amazing. This is Direction Island.
Top spot to snorkel with dolphins as well in the bay there, right? It's just amazing to go in.
It is, absolutely. So inside the lagoon, there's lots and lots of dolphins, mostly the common dolphins. There's also a lone dugong lives in the lagoon on Cocos.
Cat.
It's been there. Cat, yeah, they thought it was initially a she, but it's turned out that it's a he. And he's been in the lagoon now for about 15 years. Yeah. So you just never know what you're going to encounter on either Christmas or Cocos. Yeah, because they're so remote and just so far removed from civilization. This is Direction Island, as I say, one of the uninhabited islands. This actually won Australia's Best Beach in 2018. Guessing you can see why. So there's a ferry service that you can get across the lagoon. It's probably the best value public transport in Australia. Cost you $2 to get across the lagoon. And you can spend the day on the Cocos, on Direction Island. And
this
you can't see
that's where Dieter comes for lunch, right? On the dive trips.
Absolutely. Yep. So when you're doing a double dive with Cocos Dive, Dieter is the dive operator on Cocos. There is only one dive operator, so make sure you pre-book. Make sure that he's on the island before you get there. And he does actually, they do one dive, they come to Direction Island for lunch, and then you do the second dive. So talk about, the most amazing day in paradise. Yeah, extraordinary. And you can't quite see it in this picture, but right at the end of Direction Island, there's a section called the Rip, and it's between Direction Island and Prison Island. And there's a super fast flowing water that goes in there. It always flows into the lagoon. So one of the best adventure snorkels I've ever done. Yeah, just jump in at one end and you just Superman float across the current into the lagoon.
Wonderful. That sounds fun.
Yeah. It is pretty amazing. This is a fun way to get around Cocos if you're into kite surfing. It's because of the very shallow lagoons and, not current inside the lagoon at all. It's a great place to learn to kite surf if you're interested. And this is another fun way to get around. These are our little outrigger canoes, so where you can do a canoe safari. You can start to see the little uninhabited islands in the lagoon there. And this canoe safari can only operate at high tide for obvious reasons. You can see how shallow the lagoon is. But one of the best ways to actually see the southern part of the lagoon. And Kylie and Ash, who run that tour, are just extraordinary. They've lived on the islands for many, many years, and just, again, anything you want to know about the Cocos Keeling Islands, they know. And of course the diving. Now, so this is quite a shallow shot. So this is obviously inside the lagoon, but as I said, you've also got the outside of the lagoon for deep coral, for wall diving and coral diving as well. And we now also do sea scooter tours, and that's Dieter. That's the dive operator on Cocos. So for those that have been there, but yeah, just an absolutely wonderful guy. Again, lived on Cocos forever and extraordinary dive operator. And so just to give you an idea of some of the packages, the double dive on Christmas Island, and so 7 days on Christmas, 7 days on Cocos, or just Christmas Island. So that gives you a bit of an idea in that when you think about where you're going. Now, remember that these include flights from Perth, they include 7 nights accommodation, and they include diving on both islands. So I think you'll agree that considering where you're going and the experience that you're getting, it's a pretty extraordinary, opportunity that you've got.
Definitely good value. And so would you say, obviously there's excellent diving and there's also excellent snorkeling. It looks like it would be very family friendly as well. So suitable for divers who are bringing their families and perhaps non-diving people with them.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're so right, Juliet. It's probably one of the great things about Christmas Island and Cocos Keeling Islands is the safety of the destinations. It feels a bit like going back in time to 1950s Australia, where nobody locks their houses, nobody locks their cars. I mean, where are they going to go? So it's a very safe destination. Families love it because, you know, it's basically all outdoor experiences on both islands, and it is, yeah, definitely very family friendly. And for non-divers, hopefully I've shown you that there is a plethora of activities for both divers and non-divers. So it's a great place for that holiday if you've got a, you know, crazy, you know, dive fanatic, but the rest of the family also wants to go. It caters for both. And even I said on Christmas Island, you do 2 dives in the morning and then you've generally got the afternoon off. If you are one of those crazy divers that all you want to do is dive, grab a couple of tanks and go diving in Flying Fish Cove. So there's excellent shore diving on Christmas Island as well.
Very good, very good. So you can do that.
And Linda, are the dragon morays still there? That's just one of the top places to see dragon morays.
Yeah, there is one dive site, and it's actually in Flying Fish Cove. So it's a shore dive, and there's a coral bommy. It sits at about somewhere between 18 and 22 metres, and that's the home of the dragon morays. Whether they're there at the moment, that's a really good question. I haven't seen any images lately, but I'll definitely show you where they live. Yeah,
but you also have all these. You also have all these really cool, what are they called, hybrid species, right? Where, because the oceans are come together, you got the Indian Ocean. What's the other ocean?
The Pacific and the Pacific
that's
Ocean.
right.
That's correct. Yeah,
I remember Neville Coleman.
Exactly. It's a hotspot of hybridization is what it was called, because it's where the Indian Ocean meets the Pacific Ocean. And so you get Indian Ocean species and Pacific Ocean species breeding, and all these incredible hybrids appear on Christmas Island. There's actually only one endemic, it's actually the Cocos angelfish, but there's lots of hybrids that you won't find anywhere else on the planet. And yeah, so it's quite interesting that it's that hotspot of hybridization just purely because of the currents. Having said that, there's some things that you won't find on Christmas Island. You had Dr. Rich Smith on the underwater tour, and his specialty was pygmy seahorses. And I have spent many an hour searching Gorgonians for pygmy seahorses, and he quite reliably tells me that we're too far east. We won't find them. Too far west. Won't actually find them. So there are species, even though we've got the right Gorgonians, we won't. There are no pygmy seahorses. So it's interesting the currents that you get on the 2 islands that determine what you actually see.
Yes, and so remind us when is the whale shark season again?
The whale sharks generally visit the island between November and April. And what happens is the red crab migration, those 60 million red crabs that once a year do their march, that David Attenborough called one of his 10 most amazing wildlife experiences. So that happens at the beginning of the wet season, which is usually around about November, December. For some reason, the whale sharks know exactly when the red crabs are migrating. So the red crabs start to migrate, the whale sharks appear on Christmas Island. So you're actually getting that double whammy of your Animal Planet experience.
So the whale sharks come to eat the spawn, right, of the crabs.
Of the crabs, correct. It's also, the waters are very plankton rich at that time of the year. Remember, Christmas Island is very deep water surrounding it. Straight off the ocean, you drop down into 300 metres of water, like literally in Flying Fish Cove. You swim out less than 50 metres and you're in 300 metres of water. Also, the Java Trench is only 40 kilometres off our northern shoreline. So you're pretty much at the deepest point of the Indian Ocean in the Java Trench, which is so close to Christmas Island. So lots of deep upwellings, lots of cool water, very rich plankton waters. You just never know what you're going to see.
Has anyone ever tried to do blackwater diving there? I wonder what they'd see.
That's a really good question. Yeah, no, that's something we need to ask the dive operators. I haven't heard of anyone doing blackwater diving there. We recently had a group from Perth, actually, mixed gases, doing deep diving, and they were down very, very deep. If you have a look on Extra Divers Christmas Island, if you have a look on their Facebook page, you'll actually see those guys were down over the 100-metre mark on Christmas Island and saw some pretty amazing stuff down there. But it took them, it was about a 6-month logistical exercise to get all their gases shipped to the island, obviously, to make it happen. But quite an operation. But so I guess the reason I'm saying that is anything's possible. So I'm sure, maybe blackwater diving's next on the agenda.
Maybe, yes, we'll have to have a converse with a few people who know about these things. Can we talk about food again? I know you said that there were My favorite topic. You said there was a really interesting blend of cuisine, Malaysian, Singapore, etc. Because it's quite a small place, do you I've been to holiday islands where the restaurants you've got to book quite far in advance, because everybody sort of rotates around the few restaurants that might be there. So, you know, one night you go somewhere, the next night somewhere else. Is it the same on Christmas Island? Do you have to, you know, sort of plan a little bit ahead as to where you're going to have lunch and dinner?
Not really, because remember that there's only 2 flights a week. So everyone that lands on Christmas Island on your flight, that's it until the next flight. So you're never going to be on the island with hundreds of other people. So it's, you know, it's small in that way, in that, you know, you're I don't think there's really ever going to be a time where you're not going to be able to get, you know, go to one of the restaurants for some, you know, for food. When you get to the island, there's a pop-up visitor centre at the airport, and they have a little food guide. So best thing to do as soon as you land, pick up your food guide, and then you can work out what's going to be open Mondays, what's going to be open Tuesdays, because obviously they, you know, with it being small. Having said that, if you're there for 7 to 10 days, there will be a restaurant open every night. You'll be able to go somewhere different every night. There is also a well-stocked supermarket on the island. You're not going to find a Coles and Woolies, but you will find Metro supermarket, and also the best duty-free shop, not that I know. Yeah, so even if, you know, you just decide to have a barbecue around the pool at the sunset, that's absolutely fine as well. You've also got fishing, Surefire Fishing, who's a commercial fishing operator on the island. He'll put his big sign out that says fresh tuna, fresh wahoo. So you can always just go and get a fillet of fresh tuna and cook that up on the barbie as well. So lots of choices. You certainly won't go hungry, Juliet.
Oh, thank you. Good to know. And I noticed that you showed us a couple of packages. One was for a week, one was for 2 weeks. If you could pick, would you go for a week if it was your first time? If you were diving all the time, would you go for a week, 10 days, or 2 weeks? I mean, I know we'd all like to go for 2 weeks, but what's the minimum? What's the minimum that you would suggest to people who were planning to go there for the first time?
Okay, so if it was the first time, I would do 7 days on Christmas and 7 days on Cocos, because then you've got you're actually seeing the best of both islands. That gives you 5 days diving on each, taking into account the no-fly rules before you fly. So you can do 5 days diving on Christmas. That gives you basically a day and a half to see, like a full day and a half to actually see the rest of the island, as well as other time you've got coast diving. And same on Cocos. So you get 5 full days diving, plus you've got time to do the canoe safari and go across to Home Island and spend half a day on Direction Island. So if you've never been to either of them before, I would definitely do 7 days on each island.
Each one. And what's the best way to book your holiday there?
The best thing, if you jump on the Christmas Island Tourism website, that's got a plethora of information that you can view and also download. And under, I think it's Getting Here, and it talks about flights and it talks about packages. I would always book a package. And the reason being, for what I sort of mentioned on Cocos, there's only really 2 wholesalers that deal, well, actually that no, that's not true. There's a lot of wholesalers that deal with Christmas Island, but they're all in communication with the hotel operators and the dive operators. So they know exactly when the dive operators will be on the island. So you can book through, there's Indian Ocean Experiences, there's Broome, Kimberley and Beyond, there's Dive Adventures, there's Dive Planet, there's Always Dive. Basically all of the dive wholesalers, as well as independent wholesalers, deal with Christmas Island. But yeah, as I say, always book a package. It's not the sort of place where you can jump on a plane in Perth, get there and arrange your accommodation car and diving, because there just won't be anything available, and you'll be sitting at the airport for 7 days with your sleeping bag. So definitely make sure you pre-book everything before you go. With only 2 flights a week and only approximately 70 rooms available on Christmas, and similar numbers on Cocos, it's very limited in what you've got.
Okay, and I would imagine you would, if you're coming from somewhere other than Perth in Australia or internationally, you'd need to overnight in Perth on the way through, wouldn't you? Because just to be safe anyway.
To be safe, I would.
Time.
Yeah.
Yep.
On the Tuesday flight doesn't depart Perth until 12:30, so you can you can actually link with some airlines across to Perth, but I wouldn't do it. I would hate to miss my flight to Christmas Island, because then you're waiting at least another 3 days before the next one. There is only flights twice a week, Tuesday and Friday. So yeah, overnighting in Perth on the way there. On the way back, you don't have to. You can get a red eye back to the East Coast if you're not coming from Perth. So yeah, there's always that option. But yeah, remember.
Linda, there used to be flights out of Asia as well, right? Is that completely not happening at the moment?
Obviously, until COVID is done and dusted, we don't know what's happening with the northern flights, because there's no entry into Australia from the north with international borders closed.
But COVID will be over at some point again, of course. And
then because their charter flights set up by island operators, I can't honestly say what will happen, but you used to be able to fly from Jakarta and from Kuala Lumpur, but we obviously have to wait and see what happens post-COVID.
Yep.
Right.
Well, and I was just going to say, from the south, remember, it's only Virgin that flies. So just, I probably shouldn't say this, but I would always have my connecting flights on Virgin, because if for any reason you can't land on Christmas or Cocos, or if weather for some reason restricts them, Virgin will automatically reschedule your flights. Other airlines won't.
Yeah, that's actually really important, isn't it? Because otherwise there's a lot of stuffing around, and you might have had the most fabulous holiday, and then you end up with all this stress at the end of it, which
exactly,
you need another holiday.
Yep, exactly. So if you are coming from the East Coast, you know, just local knowledge, just link your flights up.
Oh, well, what a fantastic presentation. Thank you so much, Linda. I can't wait to go. You know, I've been nagging you for a couple of years now. I just, you know, once we're free to travel again, I'll be there for sure.
Fantastic.
Absolutely.
Well, you know, I'm actually on the north coast of New South Wales, and I'm supposed to be back on Christmas Island on the 24th of August. So let's just hope, fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed, exactly.
I can actually get back, because I just cannot wait to get back in that tropical water. Yeah, just some of the most amazing diving I've ever done.
Oh, wow. Thank you. Thank you very much indeed.
Cool. Well,
thank you so much for the
Linda.
opportunity.
You're welcome.
Always fun.
You're welcome. Okay. All right. Ending meeting now. Okay. Bye now.
Cheers,
See you guys.
Linda. Bye.
Bye.